your tea or your mate or your orange juice or whatever you're drinking. But sit down, relax. We've got about 30 minutes here of information that I hope will bring you a little calm and peace in the midst of the chaos. So thank you so much for joining. You're allowing me to do my work, which I feel so fulfilled by, and my staff doing the work. We're working hard for you in the background to produce all of this. So I hope you find it of value, and give us comments if you would, and thumbs up. And if you have seen the other days and you think this is pretty good, you're learning something, please share this with your friends. Post it on your Facebook page. You can post the live thing on the Facebook page. We now also are on Instagram. My lovely wife is sitting here next to me holding my phone doing Instagram. So I guess we're learning how to do this social stuff. I don't know anything about it, but all right. So let's move on. So reality check. And I've shown this slide the last few days that every year in the United States, we have somewhere between 23,000 and 61,000 deaths from the flu every year, just in the US, not worldwide, just in the US. And so our numbers now, yesterday, were 56,000 deaths worldwide. That was yesterday. Now today, that's gone up to 60. And that's worldwide. And you see on the left side of the screen, the US is now #1 in confirmed cases at 278,000. This is all from Johns Hopkins University. They're keeping track of all this. Thank you, everyone there, working so hard to keep us all updated. And we all know it's going to get worse in the US. So the isolation you're doing is critically important. Please continue doing that. Anytime you get packages coming in or groceries delivered or whatever it should be, make sure that you wash your fruit and vegetables and then wash your hands. In the meantime, when you're grabbing your fruits and vegetables, don't put your hand up to your face, right? Packages, when you're opening packages of things you're ordering, do whatever you need to do. Wash them, rinse them off, and then wash your hands 20 seconds, right? Keep doing that every day, every time, just as safety. And as you may know, when there's pearls on the slide, this is a pearl, a takeaway for you. And this is my mentor, Dr. Jeffrey Bland, the founder of functional medicine, who said, we all just need to keep in mind that COVID is a lifestyle disease, meaning most people are not going to have a severe reaction to this. But those that are, it's because their immune system is incapable of dealing with this thing in the way that the vast majority of us will. Over 80% of us will have mild symptoms or no symptoms. Sore throat, a little runny nose, a slight cough maybe, and it's gone in a day. It's got a little diarrhea, and it's gone in a day, 2 days, and your symptoms are all gone. The virus is not gone, but your immune system has been able to keep it in check so it doesn't run rampant in your body. Now, we'll talk about testing in a couple of days, and for those that have had minor symptoms and they're fine now, most likely you're producing antibodies, and we'll be talking to you about how to test for that. That'll be in a couple of days. But just remember, everything I'm talking about here is how we live our lives, the foods we eat, the things we do that cause more inflammation that put us at risk. So you want to reduce that risk as much as you can, right? So you want a more anti-inflammatory lifestyle. So this paper came out in early January. This is from another mentor. This is Professor Alessio Fasano at Harvard, who is the man who identified this whole mechanism of how what we've learned to call leaky gut occurs. It's intestinal permeability and pathogenic intestinal permeability, but the slang term is leaky gut. And notice the title of the paper, All Disease Begins in the Leaky Gut. Well, what about rheumatoid? All disease begins in the leaky gut. What about chronic bacterial infections? All disease begins in the leaky gut. What about viral infections and respiratory problems? All disease begins in the leaky gut. So I'm going to show you some of the information on this today so that you understand putting this much attention on your gut is going to have great results for you. During the past decade, a growing number of publications have focused on human genetics, the gut microbiome, that's the good guys and the bad guys in the gut, all the bacteria and the viruses that are in your gut, and proteomics, suggesting that loss of mucosal barrier function, that's the geek term for leaky gut, particularly in the GI tract, because mucosal barrier function, that's your lungs, that's your gut, that's your brain, the blood-brain barrier, but particularly in the gut, may substantially affect antigen delivery. Now, what's antigens? Antigens are anything that triggers an immune response. So it's a virus is an antigen, ultimately influencing the close discussions back and forth between the gut microbiome and our immune system. In other words, the environment of your gut has a tremendous amount to do with the messages that go to your immune system to tell your immune system how to respond to the threat, to the antigen, whether it's a bacteria, whether it's a food like gluten or other foods, whether it's a virus, that bidirectional talk, the gut bacteria talking to the immune system talking to the gut bacteria. We know so much more about this now than we ever did before. This paper just came out in early January. All disease begins in the leaky gut. These top researchers in the world don't make flippant statements, you know, because everything they say gets quoted. And so they're always careful about what they say. This crosstalk between the bacteria and in your gut and the immune system is highly influential in shaping the host, that's you, the host gut immune system function. Highly influential. And remember, 70 to 80% of all of your immune system is in your gut. So when you're having an aggressive reaction to a virus, 78, 80% of that reaction is coming from what's going on in the gut. Okay? So I'm going to give you a quick primer on your gut. Mrs. Patient, your digestive tract is a tube. It starts at the mouth, it goes to the other end, one big long tube, 20, 25 feet long, kind of winds around in the center of your gut there. And if you think of that tube like a donut, if you could stretch the donut out, that's your digestive tract. So when you swallow food, you know, if you look down the donut, it's in the tube. It's inside the donut. It's not in the body. When you swallow food, it's not in the body. It's in the tube. That the food has to go through the walls of the tube of the donut to get into your bloodstream, to carry the vitamins and minerals and the immune response to all of the cells of your body, to your lungs, to your brain. But when you swallow the food, it's in the tube, okay? Now, the inside of the tube is lined with cheesecloth. That's a picture of a hand with cheesecloth over it. The inside of your tube is lined with cheesecloth. That's called the mucosal epithelial lining. Now, if you think of the food we eat, the protein's like a raspberry. If you look at a raspberry, all the parts of a raspberry all look the same, right? Digestion is breaking down the raspberry into smaller pieces because that raspberry cannot fit through the cheesecloth in your gut. You swallow a piece of chicken, those fibers of chicken can't get through the cheesecloth to get in the bloodstream. They're too big. And so our digestive system, our enzymes have to go snip, 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 cutting that protein down into smaller pieces and smaller pieces and smaller pieces and smaller pieces until they're so small, they go right through the cheesecloth into the bloodstream with no problem. We call that absorption. And you'll talk to your healthcare practitioners, your health coaches, your nutritionists, your registered dietitians about how do I make sure my digestion is working well. But this is how it works. You know, you got to snip this stuff down into really small pieces so it goes through the cheesecloth. And the larger pieces of the raspberry, of the proteins you eat, can't get through that cheesecloth. They just can't. They've got to go further down the digestive tract. That's one of the reasons why the digestive tract is 20 to 25 feet long, because it takes a whole lot longer to break down prime rib than it does a banana, right? So you've got to have a system that allows for that. Snip, 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 snip. And when you have a healthy gut, this drawing is representative of the cells inside the tube. So the blue part here, or the purple part, is the inside of the tube. And when you're eating food, the small pieces go right through. Notice they go between the cells and they go through the cells. That's not real important right now, but it's kind of important. I'll show you why in a little bit. But the bigger pieces can't get through. They've got to go further down the digestive tract until they're broken up into smaller pieces. The big pieces cannot get through. But when you've got damage to your gut, and kind of the catch-all term for it is leaky gut, but there's so much more to it than that. But when you have damage to the gut, now the bigger molecules get through and they get into your bloodstream. And your immune system says, whoa, what's this? This is not good for me. I better fight this thing, this macromolecule that got through. Now your immune system makes antibodies to fight chicken, or to fight strawberries, or to fight bananas, or whatever big pieces got through into the bloodstream. They're called macromolecules. Those are the people that when the doctor does a blood test looking at 90 foods to see if you have any sensitivities, you're sensitive to 20, 25 different foods. And the person says, oh my goodness, that's everything I eat. Well, of course it is. Your immune system's trying to protect you. There's nothing wrong with your immune system. It's trying to protect you, right? When you heal the gut, then the result is that you go back 6 months later and you check again. Now you're sensitive to 2 foods, maybe 3. And those are the ones you stay away from forever, right? So Professor Fasano tells us that a revisitation of the possible causes of chronic inflammatory disease epidemics, like we have right now, suggest a key role, pathogenic role, meaning the imbalances that are occurring, of gut permeability. It's a key player here. So as you're working to strengthen your immune system, you want to be learning more about how to strengthen your gut, how to work on the microbiome. And we've got lots of videos on that. Your complementary or holistic or functional medicine doctors and nutritionists and registered dietitians and health coaches, they've got lots of information about that. If you don't know where to start, go to my site, theDr.com, or get one of my books, because we talk about it in great detail there. But every comprehensive healthcare practitioner knows about this and has their own ways of helping to deal with gut permeability, intestinal permeability, or the leaky gut. But it's a really important thing to work on. You can't forget about this, or else you won't get the results that you're trying with all of the hard effort that you're putting out there. So what about vitamins? Today's talk is to D or not to D. And there's lots of talk out there. Some healthcare practitioners saying absolutely vitamin D is essential. Some are saying, no, don't take vitamin D. It's easy to get confused. So let's look at what some of the science tells us, okay? So the former head of the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, Dr. Tom Frieden, came out last week and said vitamin D may help reduce the infection risk, meaning do you get infected when you're exposed to vitamin D? This is the head of the CDC. This guy is not a nutritionist, right? And he knows everything he says is listened to and quoted, but he's saying, it might reduce the risk of infections. Why does he say that? And I'll show you some of the studies, because there's hundreds of studies on this. I'm not exaggerating, hundreds. But I'm going to show you a little of the anatomy, a little drawings here before we get into vitamin D, so you understand how vitamin D helps. So this is an artist's drawing of a couple of cells in the gut. I just showed you the donut and the tube. So these are a couple of the cells there, and the hills on the top of the drawing are called the villi, microvilli. And on the right, picture B is actual photo of the space between 2 cells. So that's 2 cells, and you see MV is for microvilli there. And you see the circle where it says TJ. TJ stands for tight junction. And they took that photo of the tight junction where it's circled, and they blew it up. And this is what it looks like. So you can see that there's loops in there. I mean, it's pretty cool for healthcare practitioners when they see this and they understand finally what intestinal permeability or the leaky gut is, right? So you see these loops here. I like to think of these loops as the Panama Canal, right? So, there are gates, and the gates open, and the boat goes in. So in your gut, the gates open, and the food goes in. The gates close behind. And now your immune system checks it out to see if there's a problem there. The next gate's open. The food goes down a little deeper into the cells. And then the gates close behind it, and the immune system checks it out. And you get a series of canals like this, so that eventually you come out the other side and you get into the bloodstream. I mean, it's so cool, how the tight junctions work when you're looking at the cells, and how does food and nutrients get into the cells. This is how it occurs. And that's the video I showed you just a minute ago, but it's canal by canal by canal by canal that does this. Now, here's a paper that came out from a team at the University of Chicago, and they said that vitamin D enhances the tight junctions by increasing junction protein. What all that means is that the gates of the Panama Canal are controlled. The term is modulated, controlled by vitamin D. And so in the artist's drawing of the picture you just saw, you see the kissing joint there. The tight junction strand is the wraparound that holds the two cells together. And where the two cells touch is called the kissing joint. Vitamin D controls the gates of the canal, opening and closing those spaces between the cells. And that's one critically important component of vitamin D to keeping the health of your gut and the permeability functioning the way it's supposed to. Permeability is not bad for you. Excessive permeability is really bad for you. And vitamin D controls the gates, opening and closing. That's just one of the reasons why it's so important. And in this paper that came out just a couple of weeks ago, the role of vitamin D in reducing the risk of the common cold grouped these mechanisms into three categories. The physical barrier, I've just shown you how vitamin D works on the physical barrier, opening and closing the gates. Cellular natural immunity, that's called the innate immune system, and that's the one that produces the cytokine storm that's so dangerous for people with this virus. And adaptive immunity, that means making the antibodies the backup that protect you and give you immunity. Vitamin D helps maintain tight junctions, gap junctions, and adherence junctions. Those are the gates of the Panama Canal. I'm sorry for the geeky language, but just keep the visual of the gates of the Panama Canal. Vitamin D maintains all of that functioning the way it's supposed to. It enhances cellular natural immunity, that's the innate immune system, by reducing the cytokine storm. You've all heard about this cytokine storm. That's the danger if you get this virus and when people have to go to the hospital because they can't breathe anymore. That's because the immune system is overreacting in the lungs, and they get more inflammation, which produces all of this liquid, and people drown in the inflammation results in their lungs from a cytokine storm. That's pneumonia, and that's what's killing people here in the hospitals. Vitamin D modulates, that's the geek word for having its hands on the steering wheel of all of that. So it's a critically important component to have. Now look at this one. To reduce the risk of infection, it's recommended that people at risk of the flu and or COVID-19 consider taking 10,000 units of vitamin D3 for a few weeks to rapidly raise their vitamin D levels, followed by 5,000 units a day. So 10,000 units a day for a few weeks, followed by 5,000 a day afterwards for maintenance. I'm going to tell you how you know how much to take and how long to take it. But these are the studies that are coming out now. The goal should be to raise your vitamin D level in your blood to 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter, ng per ml. And if you're out of the US and they don't use ng per ml, they're using nanomoles per liter, and there's the conversion for you. For treatment of people who become infected with COVID-19, higher doses might be useful. Vitamin D supplementation was safe, reduced the risk of experiencing at least one acute respiratory tract infection, protected against acute respiratory tract infection overall. Could they say it any clearer? For treatment of people who become infected with COVID-19, higher vitamin D3 doses might be useful. So the way you know, the ideal way, if you can do this, you get a vitamin D blood test. Simple, inexpensive to do, and there are a number of different ways to do a test. You can't go to your doctors right now. So right now, the easiest way is to do the finger prick test, meaning you order the test, it comes to you in a few days, you finger prick, you put it, let the blood dry, put it, the card back in the envelope, send it back to the lab, and you get your results. So it'll take you a while to get that. In the meantime, follow the dosing that you just saw for the next week or two. But get your vitamin D level tested. That's the best thing to do. So call your doctor, call your health coach, call your nutritionist, call your registered dietitian, and say, can you do a vitamin D test for me? Or if you don't have access to that, you can go to my website, theDr.com /vitamin D test, and you can order the test there. I'd rather you go to your doctor, go to your coach, go to your functional diagnostic nutrition coaches, go to your registered dietitian, reach out to them, let them be involved with you to help interpret the test and monitor you in your dosing. But it's important to get your vitamin D done. And before all of this occurred with COVID-19, we have said for years, the most important blood test to do for everyone on an annual basis is your vitamin D level. Much more important than cholesterol. Overall, if there's only one test to do, it's vitamin D every year. And what time is the best time to do it? In the late winter, early spring, because that's when people's vitamin D levels are usually the lowest. So you see, oh, my level's low. Well, I guess the way that I took care of myself in vitamin D the last few months isn't enough. Okay, next year I'll take more during that season, right? And you do this a couple times in a year, and you can find out for you, like in the summer, if you're outside more, you like to get a tan, then at the end of the summer, you do your vitamin D test and say, okay, so I didn't take any vitamin D during the summer because I was getting more sun, and I see that my levels are better, but they're not between 50 and 70 mgs, which I like to see at 50 to 70. They're not quite there, but I don't have to take so much in the summertime. In other words, you can work with your healthcare practitioner, or you can do this yourself, to just monitor how much you're taking and what's the result overall for you. Extra base hits. There's lots. Oh, by the way, thank you to Diane, a previous patient and a friend in Chicago, who let me know it's been over 100 years since the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. Thank you, Diane. We can walk with more pride because of that now, knowing it's, for me, it's over 100 years. Anything is possible in life. If the Cubs can win the World Series, anything is possible. So extra base hits. There are many, many other nutrients that are really important and can be helpful to support your immune system. Vitamin D is not the only one, but it's at the top of the list. And that's why I wanted to talk about it today, because there's some doctors saying, no, don't take any vitamin D. Nonsense recommendation. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Check your levels to be sure. And if you're low, you get aggressive right now, right away. In the meantime, what our scientists are telling us, get aggressive right now for a couple of weeks and take the doses they recommend while you're getting your test results coming back to you, okay? What are some of the extra base hits? Well, vitamin C. And once again, there are people out there saying, no, don't take vitamin C. It doesn't, it's not safe for you. I'm sorry, I've been using vitamin C for 40 years in my practice at high doses. My mentor, Dr. Jeffrey Bland, whose mentor was Professor Linus Pauling, the only male to ever win the Nobel Prize twice. There was one female that did also, but he's the only male to win it twice. And he took 18,000 units every day. I have a really cute video of him, and he was in his 80s. He's got a little black beret on, you know, and he says, yes, my wife and I take 18,000 units of vitamin C a day, and when we get old, we'll take more. And the guy was in his 80s. You know, he was just sharp as a whip, right? So let's talk a little about vitamin C, because it's really important. And look at the title of this article. Vitamin C can shorten the length of stay in the ICU. A meta-analysis. Meta-analysis means they look at a whole lot of studies. They looked at 18 different studies, looking at thousands of people, and what they find? Orally, meaning if you take the pills of vitamin C in 1 to 3 grams a day, you reduce your length of ICU stay by over 8%. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. And 1 to 3 grams a day is not that much. That's 1,000 to 3,000 milligrams. It's not that much. I take 4,000 a day every morning when I wake up. People that have followed us know that I talk about having 2 big glasses of water first thing in the morning. Everybody goes to the bathroom when they wake up. Next thing you do, go get 2 big glasses of water immediately. And you'll notice within 3-4 days, your bowels are working better, your brain's turned on a little bit more as you start your day. So for years, I've been taking, it's called Vitality C, and I take a scoop, which is 4,000 milligrams every day. Now I'm taking 2 scoops a day, so I'm taking 8,000 a day every day. But just 1 to 3 grams, 1 to 3,000 per day, reduce the length of stay in the ICU by 8.6%. Now remember, people in ICU are really sick and their immune systems aren't doing so good. So it helped them that much. In 3 trials in which patients needed mechanical ventilation, these are the respirators that we're hearing so much about now, vitamin C shortened the duration of mechanical ventilation by 18%. And that p-value, what it means is the closer to 0.001 it is, the more accurate the results. So 0.002 is great, all the way up to 0.05 is great, but 0.001, it doesn't get more accurate than that. So 18% reduction in people needing mechanical ventilation if they were taking vitamin C. Given the insignificant cost of vitamin C, even an 8% reduction in ICU is worth exploring. The effects of vitamin C on ICU patients should be investigated in much more detail, meaning every doc who's working to save lives in the ICU should pick up on this. And unfortunately, they don't have time, and it's not in their training. So it's after their training that they learn more about using vitamin C. My friend, Dr. Ron Chang, and I have been participating in some online summits this last couple of weeks, and he's worked in intensive care units, and we had an intensive care doc in the other day, and he talks a lot about vitamin C and the studies coming out of China of how helpful it's been for them there. So base hits, I talked about this yesterday in great detail. I just want to remind you the biggest base hit you can do is eat the color of the rainbow. More important than vitamins. Vitamins are important. Vitamins and nutrients are important. But what's on the end of your fork determines how inflamed you get more than anything else. And yes, if we haven't been eating the best foods for a long period of time, we may have vitamin D deficiencies. We may have vitamin C deficiencies, glutathione deficiencies, quercetin deficiencies. There's lots of nutrients to talk about. But as you're looking and diving into those different nutrients that can be helpful, you start today. You eat the colors of the rainbow every day, 8 to 10 different colors a day, every day. What does that mean? You get frozen blueberries delivered to your house so that your kids can have frozen blueberries. You put them in smoothies. You get peppers, you get cucumbers, you get squash, you get tomatoes, you get pomegranates. Just start exploring with different foods. The greatest one, if I don't even know if it's possible right now, but in most cities, there are farms that have communities. You give them X number of dollars per year, and they deliver to you every week, whatever they're harvesting. So you can look in your cities to see if that's available currently, or get whatever vegetables you can and alternate. Don't just eat carrots every day. Carrots are really good for you, but don't eat them every day as the only vegetable, thinking I'm getting my vegetables. Well, you're getting a vegetable, but we want the rainbow, most important. Now, you can get all the transcripts. We're having this transcribed every day, so it's printed out if you prefer reading about what I've just said. You can rewatch the videos. You can follow along with the slides. You can review the slides. We're giving you the slides. We're giving you the studies. I'm showing you here. I'm giving you all the studies, and we're giving you the MP3s, and they're all available for you. They're at theDr.com/coffee. theDr.com/coffee. Now we're asking for a contribution to help me pay my staff, because everybody's working full time trying to do this. But if you don't want to pay for whatever reason, or you can't afford to pay, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just type in the word scholarship. Oh, click the button. Thank you, honey. We changed it because there was some confusion with the promo code. So there's a button there for you when you go to theDr.com/coffee. There's a button and say, well, I want it for free. Great, just click it. Fine, and join us every day. No one is to be turned away because of resources. No one. But if you can help us, we appreciate it, because this is a difficult time for everybody, and I'm trying to keep my staff employed right now. They're doing a great job. It's allowing me to do this, and I'm hoping you're finding value in this. So theDr.com/coffee. With that, I'll say thank you very much for your kind attention, and I will see you tomorrow morning.